Actually pay attention.
But yeah, okay. As you were, boys.
Yeah. Get to enjoy this show.
I still think the fourth episode to me is like so far like the peak. Like that episode's amazing. Like I like 3 and 4 a lot, but this episode had so many great, like so many nods and things, but also it did all the setup that they kind of missed out on by doing character moments in the previous 2 episodes. So I actually prefer it this way a little bit. If your setup is like okay,
was wacky. Where the last 2 were very character focused, and we got character and plot development, and this one was just kind of shaking everything up in a bucket.
Yeah,
totally.
They gave us enough of the new characters, not too much new with the previous restored character or the previously known characters, and then kept things going so that we can get to a finale that will be, I think, very zip zop heavy.
Yeah, and
there's some zip zopping happening. It's gonna be. I hope we got that out of us in this 5th episode, though. A lot of zip zopping was at the end of this episode. Oh, yeah. So can we just? I actually think that's a better way to do it. Put the zip zop in the. I said this during WandaVision, like zip zop it, like in the previous, like the second to last episode, the penultimate, and then give me character stuff in the last. So hey, Miss Knox.
Hello, Miss Knox.
There was plentiful zopping.
Yeah,
all the zop. I think it's enough to like if you watch it in a binge, like, do we need more like action heavy stuff? I think that's why it's going to be more a battle of wits and conversational. I mean, there's gonna be fighting, of course, there always is.
Yeah, I think there's still going to be some fighting, especially like probably some TVA versus probably several Lokis situation going on.
Mm-hmm. I also watching Black Widow definitely was like, oh man, yeah, the MCU can do like action very well, because I thought all the action scenes were just very well shot and like very well produced, and obviously like Black Widow has so much of a higher budget.
Yeah,
and like I mean, you could see even like on TV, like even on like I got a nice TV though, so but I mean I could tell, but
humble brag.
I got a nice TV and a PS5 to play on it.
Yeah, completely. Yes.
I watched Black Widow on my Tamagotchi, so I don't know what you're talking
about. I bet the CGI looked better that way.
Yeah, especially at the end,
a jailbroken Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Well, hello, bearded cat lord. Hello,
Lucille. Hey.
All our friends are here.
Everybody we love. Literally everybody we love is here.
Yeah. Literally, yes. Every person I've ever loved. Now that my grandmother's dead. She actually died. That's fucked up. I don't know why I said that.
I mean,
and I didn't go to her funeral.
No, so much for being the only person you ever loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, does it
love her? I did love her. I just didn't want to. Just like, well, the only person I would go to the funeral for is her. And she's dead.
But my question is, are you expecting her in chat though? Like, she can't be here. Like,
how amazing would that be, though?
Shows up in chat.
Someone in chat, go get a Ouija board and try to get Justin's grandma in here.
Oh, it's that guy who does the 4 a.m. Ouija boards. Like, oh, guys, I just got her. I just tuned into her. The YouTuber.
Yeah.
I've watched enough unsolved mysteries to believe that's possible. So, please.
Yeah.
I like watching old unsolved mysteries now with my phone out, so I can just get updates on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened to these motherfuckers? What happened to this old man that disappeared?
He was senile.
There's a lady who went missing in '96, and her name's Judy Husentrut, and the only reason I remember her and look her up once in a while is because her name's fucking Judy Husentrut.
Good old Judy Husentrut.
She's still missing. Her town had a funeral for her like 10 years ago.
Oh,
that's sad. Way to bring down the energy.
Whoever has the Ouija board in the chat, while you're get Judy Husentrut.
Also try to get Judy Husentrut in here.
Route her in.
Actually, let's prioritize her.
Do you have a President Loki button on your green screen, or is that like? Okay, I was wondering if that was like a watermark on the trailer or something like that. Nope. Okay, that makes sense.
Nope, that's my nice. Loki. I got my variant shirt. I also have a TVA shirt I'm gonna wear next week.
Jesus,
nice.
Yeah, I dropped like $60 on Loki merch. That's how dedicated. I mean, dedicated to this show particularly, because I wasn't spending a dime on Falcon and Winter Soldier merch.
Oh yeah, well,
I
how would you even know?
that
What
much
you
attention on Falcon and Winter Soldier, honestly.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Buy a Captain America shield? Well, it looks like any other Captain America shield.
It also makes you look like a total a-hole if you're like, I'm about Captain America, if you don't know the context of which Cap you're talking about, and like the context of like, I just like America. I'm like, well, this is a complicated topic, so I do not like. That's
I like the one that's never punched a Nazi.
I like the one that is a Nazi. Like, oh my god, what does this even mean anymore?
And also, like, if you're trying to do like the Falcon Captain America, like any attempts to make sure it's like the black one might just be problematic. Like,
Yeah,
it just might blow up in your face.
Yeah, you put the brown ringer on the shield. I'm like, no, it's not. There's no way to differentiate. So
okay, Justin is all in. I'm into it. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, Bearded Cat Lord. Hell yeah, yes, I'm all into spending my money in irresponsible ways while things in my house need to be fixed.
I mean, you couldn't be spending things on your house because you got a landlord. I know he doesn't answer the emails,
your house
more than once a month, but like...
He's gotten better about it. He's been, he got us a new stove and a new stove and a new dishwasher. Like in the last couple of years, so he's been stepping it up. Nice. He also increased our rent, so I think he knows.
See, the more you ask for, the more they raise the rent. That's why, like, my rent has remained the same, minus like $200 for 11 years, because like I never ask for anything. Mike fixes everything. I see, problem there. Mike fixes it, and then the minute I ask for stuff, he's like, "So next month I got to raise the rent by $100." I'm like, "See, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you just fix your own shit."
Wait, what is what's the same? There's like two people saying same in regards to what?
Sames. Yeah, what is the same?
I think spending money irresponsibly, you should be paying bills or repairing things in your house.
Oh, yeah. Buying Captain America shields that are problematic.
I mean,
yeah, problematic.
Yeah, there you go. Spending money poorly. I was like, if I know anything about the type of people who watch Twitch streams, they're a greatly bad state.
Yeah. Spending money poorly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the bits, asshole.
Okay. But yeah, who here in the chat has seen Black Widow? We've all four of us have seen Black Widow, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just talking about it.
I've been talking spoilers in our chat all day.
Yeah,
it's true.
Trying to avoid it in the other chat, which is almost all the same people, except for one person who hasn't seen Black Widow.
Who hasn't seen Black Widow? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is why I'm glad we had this one. And I literally was just like, Jay, here's my Disney Plus login. Watch.
Yeah, which first off I appreciate, but secondly, I wish it was on a less wholesome streaming platform, because it just feels so wrong to me being kind of a dick to take someone's login information and not load their history with like questionable content, and that's almost impossible to do on Disney Plus.
It's true.
Yeah, right.
Also, my username on Disney Plus is Dumbo Hentai with a Thanos avatar. So what could you really do? What could you do to me that I haven't done to myself, Jay?
All of the available accounts, I was like, I don't even know which one I'm supposed to or am comfortable using.
Yeah. Thick Thanos booty lovers is the one to use.
All right, Lucille has not seen it yet.
Okay, so at the end, we're going to do a spoilery Black Widow discussion, but we're going to put a banner up and we're going to definitely, preface it, because I definitely want to talk about it right now. Mm-hmm. Not review it. Although I feel like we all pretty much liked it, right?
Yeah, we all liked it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's not a...
Yeah, and if you want a review of it, fucking tune in on Wednesdays, you fucking freeloader. Even though it's also free on Wednesdays.
It's always free. Yeah. But if you want it 5 minutes early, you can subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah. We do have a Patreon, but I haven't done anything with it.
You should get the link 5 minutes earlier, and literally nothing changes.
Yeah. We do record these live.
$10 a month.
Still broadcast at the same time, but we send you more ads.
Yeah, that's what our Patreon. It will pay you pay for more ads. Okay.
No, Justin will just spend 10 minutes showing you all the merch he bought for the show he's about to talk about. Your Patreon.
That's a great idea.
I already do that. I literally.
No, we do like room tours. Everybody has to do like a room tour on the Film Simps. Everybody that's on, literally everybody, every guest has to do a room tour, and that's in the Patreon.
Okay, let's start this shit. We're gonna roll a theme song.
Do it.
Here we go.
We're closing in 10. You're wasting my time. This ain't your bed. You give them a wink, or is it a blink? You only got one eye, so they gotta think. You hang around town with the Film Sims. You're selling your organs with the Film Sims. You catch a raccoon with the Film Sims. You'll name that raccoon Film Sims.
The Film Simps was shot before a live digital audience.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to the Hiddlesimps Recap Loki, Episode 5, Journey into Mystery. With me, I'm your host, Justin P. Drew, a.k.a. Shushi. With me, as always, is my co-host in nerdery, Mikey Jesus. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. And then we got. I guess he's technically also a co-host, but for this episode, he's more of a guest. Everybody, give it up for Jer Palapal, aka Swing Dingaling.
Always happy to be a guest.
Always happy to be a guest. Always a host, never a guest. And finally, special guest, actual guest. Give it up for Jay Chanoine.
Oh, hi.
Jay. And since you are the most guesty of the four of us, please take a moment and just promote your shit real quick to anybody who might be watching, who maybe doesn't know your shit.
Oh, sure. Hi, my name's Jay Chanoine. My name is on the screen, actually, so I don't need to spell it like I usually do when I'm telling people this. I'm a stand-up comedian. I have an album that came out in 2019 on Stand Up Records. It's called The Texas Chanoine Saw Massacre. It's available on all your favorite digital music platforms. I'm also a writer for the website The Hard Times, and comedy shows are back, so if you're around New England, I might be doing one of those near you.
Yay! Okay. And back to the show. Yeah, hey, how did we all feel about episode 5 of Loki? I know that, I feel like Black Widow came out, and so everybody's talking about Black Widow, and people kind of forgot that this episode kind of happened, because all Loki discourse stopped the moment Black Widow came out.
Yeah.
But how do we feel about it? Jay, how did you feel about this episode?
I love this episode. We were talking about it before we went live. I think that this episode was a lot of craziness packed into, like, we were just saying a whole lot happened in this hour of TV.
For sure.
And a lot of it was weird and wacky and crazy and fun. And there's been a lot of character development in this show. I think we got some more of that in this episode, maybe not as heavy as the last couple. And one thing I really appreciate that I was saying is I have no idea what to expect in the finale. I really don't know what we're heading into for that.
Which is cool, and there are hints out there that I definitely want to get into. I have a couple articles queued up about who it could be. But let's go to Jer. Jer, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was good. One of my things that I've been complaining about with Loki is that I don't think that it quite works as a TV show. Like, I kind of wish it was just bingeable, because it feels just like a bunch of shit happens and then we get a revelation of some kind and then the episode kind of ends. Like, every episode I'm just like, oh, that was it? All right. And then I move on with my life. So it's hard. I think this works as a standalone because it takes place in its own specific place with Loki and the other Lokis. It introduces a new set of characters and there's a little bit more of a structured beginning, middle, end to it. And yeah, overall, I liked it. Very funny. Love that they included Alligator Loki. That's my, that's a delight.
And Frog.
Yes, but they're making a Funko Pop of Alligator Loki, and I got enough of those, but in some ways I don't got enough of those now that they made that. So, very delightful episode. I hope many myths are born of it.
For sure. Okay, Mikey, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I feel like this is making up for the couple episodes we had of a lot of character development and slow plot development, which I also appreciate because those are my favorite episodes. A lot of character stuff happening, slow burn, but it does it really, really well. I love this episode. I think it's still like episode 4 is still, and we'll see what happens in the finale, is still like my favorite episode of the series so far. We'll see if that changes, and I have reasons for having that be my favorite. I think there's some amazing performances in there because you're given slow burn, but also a lot happening in that episode.
Yeah,
A lot of characterization, but we have that here too with characters we just meet, and you have a writing dynamic that is, to me, really exciting because you introduce characters in the beginning, I guess, well, technically visually in the post-credit scene of the previous episode, and then here you develop them very quickly, and it still feels weighty and interesting, and only because of the character development of Loki as a concept and a thing does that work. So I think this episode is kind of masterful in the way it's paced with the other episodes, because I think a lot of the Loki things wouldn't have worked as well if you didn't develop Loki as a concept so well up until now. So to me, this is like screenwriting, like 101. Like, I think this is like a great master course, and like as long as they stick the landing in episode 6,
Yes,
I think this could be a way to say, like, tell
that's
a short.
where these MCU shows kind of fall apart.
That's my fear. Yes, every time. But yeah, no, I loved it.
I would say both WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier's last episodes were kind of the weakest of both, you know, or if not
easily
the weakest, then one of the weakest. In the case of Wanda, I would say probably my least favorite episode overall, although there were some nice moments. The last 2 episodes had some nice moments. But Falcon, nothing's worse than episode 3, where Bucky just decides to just free Zemo on like a complete whim. And it's like, this is bad. This is why we had the Sokovia Accords, Bucky. Like, because you would just do shit like this, you know?
Listen, man, you're right, but the sample size is very small so far. Maybe this will go the trend. They're 0 for 2, but maybe they can be 1 for 3.
No, but listen, Zemo got to dance after that. That was awesome, right? So it was all fun.
I agree with you guys. We actually need to give the police more money so they can, like...
If that had been his reason, I would have loved that show so much more. If he was like, we need to break Zemo out. Why? He's got to dance.
The dance floor is calling to Zemo.
That dude's legs are itching. We got to get him out.
So I am okay. So I do want to get into the recap in just a moment, and I'm gonna put Jer on the spot for that. Like I've been. Oh, thanks for the subscription, Jazznet. By the way, thank you for subscribing. Yay! I love my subscribers.
Oh, thank you, Jazz.
You get access to my emojis, and I'm gonna start making a bunch of new emojis of my cat because my cat. Oh God, my cat's a meme. And I love it. And I just, when I'm not talking about Marvel online, I am just taking pictures of her because she is just gorgeous and adorable. Anyway, but we started off the previous episode shitting on the concept of this, but now it has come out, and I just want to watch a 30-second clip of the Good, the Bart, and the fucking Loki, and you know, and let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about. I hate that this exists. I mean, The Simpsons has been like the opposite of cool. The Simpsons has really become like the fucking Coldplay of adult cartoons. Like, just they were cool. I'm sorry. First 2 Coldplay albums I will stand by, but I can't co-sign what they've become. Anyway, though, let's watch this.
Possess the power of Thor. Well, there's no way I'm worthy. I'll just put it back. Oh! Lisa is Thor.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
And I brought the Springfield Avengers with me.
It's actually kind of funny.
I ruined my pants in a brand new way.
So yeah, so that's that. So you guys all caught that sign in the background, right? This is what happens when Disney buys Marvel and Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that self-awareness absolve them of...
No,
of course not. That's not how that works.
No.
I was literally having a conversation with a close friend this week. Like, you can't just be like, I know what I am, so it's fine. Like, no, you still suck.
If during the Donald Trump presidency he had gone, I'm human fucking excrement, no one would be like, what a president.
Well, he knows it at least, so you know what? He's great. No.
Has anybody watched that in like the complete thing?
Not yet.
Hell no.
No.
Because I'm learning to love myself. That's it.
It's only what, 4 or 5 minutes long, right?
Yeah, that you'll never get back. Those minutes are gone forever.
You don't know. I could storm the TVA and demand my 5 minutes back.
Also, apparently, so I saw in the background of just that scene, there's like a reference to Agatha Harkness, and I know plot-wise at one point they do like a couple TVA jokes. So it's like, I wonder when, because it takes a while to animate these things, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder when they actually like got that info to, the Simpsons.
Yeah, that
creative
only
team.
makes it piss me off a little more, thinking that like Barney Gumble knows more about what's going on in the MCU than I do right now.
Also, like I find it both funny and also a little bit like that they like chose Barney Gumble as Iron Man, because like that's the joke. He's an alcoholic. It's funny. Like it is funny.
Yeah.
In like a 2008, it's maybe not as fun, because that's why they dropped that whole thing in the MCU. They're like, maybe we shouldn't like make a joke out of him being an alcoholic without addressing it directly in cinema. That is a funny nod to the comics, and I like that. But it's also interesting because literally Disney's like, we're abandoning that because no, we can't have an actual main character that's going to sacrifice himself for the good of the entire universe be a raging alcoholic.
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch it though, just to see, because like Homer and Marge are none of the Avengers. So who are they? I just want to know who they are in the whole.
Does it
who could
really matter? They could be civilians. Who gives a shit?
This is the kind of thing that I will watch. I'll watch it like on the train to work one day, and I'm like, I'm out of YouTube videos to watch, and all my audiobooks are done, and one's downloading. I'll watch it and be like, hey, that's about what I expected.
Yeah, I like Jared's idea of them being civilians. Like they're just the collateral damage bystanders. That something needs to be done. These superheroes have caused too much damage that they're not being held accountable for.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I just thought that was interesting. Buzz hits them. That'd be great.
It chases them into the garage, and then they all line up on the couch in the opening credits.
No, it's the bus from the Shang-Chi trailer.
Clearly.
Deep cut. What a reference.
And then you got like the Simpsonized Aquafina driving it. I could see that happening.
There's no such thing as a coincidence.
Okay. So let's move on to the actual recap. Let's recap this episode. And Jer, I'm going to put you on the spot. And let's see if you can do as good a job as Rashid's been doing the past few weeks.
All right.
Or no.
I mean, I can't match his enthusiasm, but so we start where we left off. Loki is with other Lokis in the little void where they just people get, they go when they die or whatever. When they get zapped. Not a zip zop, very different. But so they're all together, and the Lokis that he meets are, they're resigned to their fate. He kind of joins them, and they kind of hang out, and they learn each other's backstories, including a classic Loki, an alligator Loki, a child Loki, and a black Loki.
Or boastful Loki, as they.
That's how they went with it. I didn't.
That's his official name, is boastful Loki.
Okay, I like that better. I didn't know what.
Better than Black Loki.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can still call him Loki. Either way,
Yeah. I will call him Loki. But yeah, so they at some point, some other Lokis, including President Loki, burst on them. They all turn on each other, and everybody turns on each other until they kind of have a melee fight. Loki escapes. Meanwhile, Sylvie is running around the TVA, and she's escaping, but she gets zapped by what's her name, Ravonna. That she winds up in the same place, and Mobius finds her. They drive a car. They meet Loki. They're all guarded by Alioth, this giant smoke monster. And
she actually zaps herself into the void, because
you are right.
what's her name tries to double cross her.
Yes.
So that's
you're
a cool little sequence, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
just going back like a second. So that's cool because like Rainslayer's like, I don't know either. I want the truth also.
Yeah.
So they're kind of having this back and forth where it like now messes with your head as a viewer of like, does she know or does she not know necessarily? And so they're having this back and forth, and she's like, I want the truth. And then they go to the what's her like Miss Time, right?
Yep.
You know, like this little anime.
Yeah.
Miss Minutes, yeah. They go to her and like they're like debating, like she's like, oh, find the files on the secret ship that can go to the end of time.
Yeah.
and Sylvie's like, I'm not having any of this. Like
Yeah.
you're full of shit. Like
Yeah.
this doesn't seem right at all. And then yeah, of course they're buying time basically. And then
Right.
she just does it to
Self-prunes,
herself.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Self prunes. She's
That's
like, yep,
That's the word they use.
off
yeah.
I go.
Yeah. And also there's a little scene where Renslayer meets up with Hunter B-15,
B-15, yeah.
who's been kept in a kind of cell, and it becomes clear that she also truly does not know what's going on, but she wants to find what's going on with the TVA for herself, but for her own means. So she's also on the hunt. But once we get back with the Lokis, including Sylvie and Mobius, they all decide they're going to kill Alioth and find out what's on the other side of the void. So that's where we left off at the end of the episode. There was no post credits, right?
No post credits.
Good. Okay.
And so there's a couple like really interesting things that I want to focus on in this
Sure.
episode. Let's focus on first and foremost. Let's focus on these Lokis, okay? And it's kind of interesting, right, that they've all kind of been through the TVA ringer, so they all know how their life is supposed to go. And I definitely think it's cool that Loki's plotline through the MCU is now he's just one Loki that just like went through the proper things. And then you have all these Lokis that have kind of just have to emotionally deal with like, well, that was the way it was supposed to go, and it just didn't go that way for me. I definitely thought, I think that, and let me just pull up, where the fuck is this kid? So, I definitely think that quote unquote classic Loki, right, is definitely the best of the non Hiddleston Lokis.
Played by Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant,
The absolute standout for the episode, intentionally and for good reason.
Yeah.
and I thought I thought he got like a really cool death. Although there's listen, and I want to get into multiple fan theories at the end of this after this recap's over. But I have read a theory that he is actually the Loki running everything, right? And and this is all just a big illusion, and so his death is also an illusion. Although I feel like that's a little cheap. I doubt that that's the actual case. But so he was cool. Child Loki, finding out that the Child Loki's Nexus event was he killed Thor.
Yeah.
Like he just straight up iced fucking Thor.
And doesn't seem too happy about it either.
Yeah. Well, he paid for it. He thought he was gonna rule that shit.
Yeah.
You'd be bitter too if you were
He's a
like, "Oh
kid.
fuck yeah, I killed him.
Yeah.
I'm the king now."
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to kill Thor when he's like 13, I suppose. Easier than later, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
But I definitely thought that Richard E. Grant's classic Loki was I think obviously the whole concept of him realizing like just how stupid all of this is, right? Like that he just after Thanos attacked and he created that that illusion so powerful that not even the Mad Titan could tell it was a fake, and then he just went and was just basically went full Yoda for a few years. He just went to Dagobah and chilled for a few years, and then it was just him remembering how much he loved his brother and wanting to go find him and touch base was what got him caught and sent him and got him sent to the TVA. Like I thought that was a really cool story, and I thought this was like a really nice ending for the character. And it kind of makes me wish that they had kind of done this. They had done more with Loki in the Void. Done an extra episode, because I feel like if we had spent even like an extra episode with this character, I feel like it would have been even more powerful than it was. But I don't know. I was at least a little moved by it. What did you guys think? Let's start with Mikey. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, as a comic fan, this like struck me right away. Firstly, the performance is amazing, and
Fantastic! Yeah,
and also like it strikes me as like hitting the character's notes well. I mean, I know how the character got started conceptually on paper from the writers, or like, oh, it's a thought experiment in the MCU, but to me, it feels so deep in the comic lore. I absolutely love this, and I think that if this is why also the fan theory of him being behind anything is it devalues the story so much, because he gives that final pep talk in a lot of ways to Loki, all the really Lokis, right? To the concept of Loki, of what you can be and what you can choose to be. The idea that he turned his back as a coward, sort of, right? And then came back through. I love everything about his presentation. I love his costume design. I don't think it's silly for an old man wearing that suit. I think it's amazing. I think everything is perfect. Yeah. As a long-term like superhero fan, like I think this character like really gets it as much as the MCU version does. Our mainline version does. I love this. And also I think he did a lot in 48 minutes worth of time, and that's not his screen time, that's the episode. I think he did so much in a short amount of time. So, yeah,
for sure. What do you think, Jay?
I think he's great. I think this is one of those things where hiring a great actor pays off. He's able to just convey that with the right amount of pathos and like gravitas, and it feels great. I don't think that he's gonna come back, but it would, I think it would at least be underwhelming, if he did. But I'm taking his death at face value for now. So this is a fun episode. I don't know if I would want another episode in the void with them. I think we got for the sake of the pacing of the show, what they did works for me. But if you went back and did like shorts, like just from any time,
Tales from the Void,
mostly,
Loki, Marvel's Loki, Tales from the Void.
Hell yeah.
Like some cute like 5-minute skits or whatever. I'd be completely down for that. You got to make more content for Disney Plus at all times.
I'd be way more into that than the Good, the Bart, and the Loki. I'll tell you that. Jay, what did you think?
I think I agree with everyone that he was fantastic. I loved all the different Lokis in the show. I was saying to you, Justin, before we got started, that like the Thor universe was not one of the pockets of Marvel that was ever an obsession of mine, but one of the comics that I did really get into was the Vote Loki from a few years back, and they threw that character in there, and like there were a lot of nods with all the different Lokis that they did. This guy totally did steal the episode. I agree with everyone else, but I do think it's awesome, and something you can only do in a situation where you've developed so much over like 20 different movies and 10 years and now all these shows, where we all know these characters so well and so much that you can do an episode where there's 50 different versions of one, and we can all keep track of them because we know his story so well. So they all changed one thing in the story, and that doesn't matter because we all know Loki's story because we've seen it so many times at this point.
Yeah, completely. And Vote Loki. Speaking of Vote Loki was also in this episode.
Yeah, and he looks awesome too. He looks
he looks awesome, and his posse. And did you guys catch up here? This dude on the right was one of the projections, one of the Lokis that they had like talked about pruning.
Yeah,
like this like nightclub promoter Loki looking motherfucker.
He's the bassist from Mudvayne.
No, I saw them live. That's horrible.
So that was pretty cool, and I definitely thought, like the whole idea, right? His narrative purpose is very clear cut, right? He has like several lines that are very important, including like, it's the blades, hinder our power. We're far more powerful than even we know, and just the whole idea that like, the glorious purpose. We all want to rule, we all have to rule everything, and that's why I thought it was such a, because I historically on this show, I've complained about the action, pretty much every episode, right? Mikey. Like we've had like a segment in almost every episode about the action's kind of lackluster, especially like going from that to watching Black Widow, where like way higher budget, clearly like the action scenes, and I as a whole like Loki more because I like the Loki character more than the Black Widow character. And I just generally like the kind of the weirder sci-fi or, the more humorous side of the MCU. But I definitely liked the action sequence in this episode. Jay, I believe you described it as Smash Bros. Free-for-all with Lokis.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene was one of my favorite fight scenes, I think, ever in the MCU. It was...
It's up there. It's gotta be. It's
so
actually well
silly and
choreographed.
out of hand, and it's very well choreographed. Yeah. I was watching the episode a second time to prepare for this, and that scene, watching it a second time, I was like, it's far less chaotic than it seems the first time you watch it. It's very calculated.
Yeah. Oh, completely. And it's just, this episode is just filled with so many deep references, and I want to get into a few of those later. But I did just appreciate this, and I loved the idea, right, that you have all these Lokis that they just can't work together because they all are just double crossing each other because they all just want to be the leader,
I love that. Yeah.
and then it was just so Loki. And then you see our Loki, the Loki of this show, who is now my favorite Loki. And I don't consider Sylvie a Loki. I think Sylvie, even if she is a Loki, she's really not. She has crafted her own identity, outside of Loki.
Fucking wow, Justin. The
What?
woman doesn't get to be a Loki.
She doesn't want to be a Loki. She doesn't like
Even
being
the
a Loki.
crocodile's a Loki, but not the lady.
Calling her a Loki, she literally says, "Don't call me a Loki. My name is Sylvie."
Yeah.
Like so to call her Loki would be dead name.
Call her by the name that she wants.
Yeah.
Simple enough. Live your life that way. It's easy.
Don't you come at me, Jay. Don't you try to cancel me, man. But so I think that and I also loved our Loki's transformation, and where he is just a good dude. He just sees he's now disenchanted with his own his own history, right? He's just the whole idea of like because she says to him, right? Sylvie says to him, after all of this, there might be like a timeline where you rule, and he's like, well, yeah, that would make me happy, right? And you can even see it, like even in rewatching the episode, you see it when all of the Lokis are just double crossing each other. He's just in the corner rolling his eyes. He is so over the Loki bullshit by this point, and I think that's such a important character development for this character, and I really hope to God that they don't do a 6th episode twist where right. I mean, I feel like he might get tempted. There might be like a moment in the finale where he is kind of offered like everything you ever wanted right here if you just sell Sylvie up the river, and I hope to God he doesn't take it. But yeah,
I don't think he will. Not in the 6th episode, with like MCU being so like, other than Infinity War, they've been very determined to have everyone have a happy ending. So I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I also think like they've also like the performance that Hiddleston has given in the last 2 to 3-ish episodes, certainly the last 2, has been so genuine, like as a good person. Yeah. Like I got actually, like, again, like this is a secret to knowing if I actually think something's great or not in the MCU is, do I cry or not? Because superheroes make me cry if they do it right. Even the bad movies, I fucking cry. And I'm like, I got the big cry moment in episode 4. I said, nope, no cry. That's why Mike no like that. No cry, no superhero cry, superhero grump whole time. But like I got the superhero cry from a scene where it's 2 characters talking. And that's like insane. It's not even I'm doing something heroic right now. It's me discussing it. And I think like that performance goes a long way to say there's, if anything, they're going to play like, hey, guess what? We're going to do the scene where like he's going to double cross her. But it's all to like, to come out of it as a double cross to double crossing. So like, like him really being true to, overthrowing the TVA, and maybe even it's a Mobius thing. Maybe it's not even about Sylvie. It could be like, I'm going to double cross Mobius because screw you. But I really think that the performance kind of, that would be a betrayal of his performance so far. So if that happens, it's like, it's very out of left field.
Was it real quick, Mike? Was it the scene where they're sitting on the lawn and he conjures up the blanket and then like gives her half of it? Was that what made you cry in this episode?
No, it was actually not. This episode didn't. It was the previous one.
Okay.
It was
I
when
wanna
they're at
watch
the
him
end of the
fuck.
world.
I want to watch
the
him
thing
fuck,
that
by the way.
the thing that made me that would make me cry too in a good way. But like, no, it's the scene in the previous episode where they're at the end of the world and they're discussing like, you know, we always come back, we always win. Like, yeah, it's and you know, and Sylvie's like really vulnerable. And Hiddleston's performance in that opening sequence before the TVA comes and rescues them due to the Divergent event, right? Like that was amazing. That was like my cry moment. I'm like, yeah.
In our last episode, I talked about how that should have been the end of the third episode. That should have just been the end of the third episode.
Agreed.
And then the doors, and then they look back and they see the doors, and that's where the episode ends. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, that annoyed me. But anyway. So you were mentioning Mobius. Let's talk about Mobius. I would say if there was one thing in this episode that annoyed me the first time I watched it that I didn't, because there were a couple things that I thought were, when I first watched the episode, I was like, okay, that was solid. It wasn't my favorite. And then rewatching it, I kind of felt better about a lot of things, including the Loki fight scene. But one thing that still irked me is, I wish we got more of like a Mobius is alive type moment where I just felt like he was just driving the car. But how the fuck did he know to like drive towards, Alioth or whatever the fuck that thing's name is? And, like, how did he know to do that? Like, did he see her fall out of the sky? Like, what do we think? And let's start with Jer for this one.
I think it's possible that he saw them fall out of the sky, just because they're. Wait, initially, are you talking about initially when he picked up Sylvie?
Yeah, when he picks up Sylvie, because she's just running from the nothing, from the never-ending story. She's running from the nothing from the never-ending story, and all of a sudden there's just a car that's like, oh look it's a Deus Ex Machina mobile just driving.
If I'm being generous to that, Alioth seemed attracted to whatever the new thing was in there. So, like, maybe he knew that, whatever was coming there was eventually going to be something that he could, partner up with or whatever. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't really make much sense, but whatever, man. Like, you can't get hung up on these logistical things. There's a billion of those in Black Widow that, like, otherwise would have taken me out of a movie that I was fine with otherwise,
Yeah, I don't know. That was just especially egregious to me. What did you think, Jay?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're okay with, a character like kills themselves, wakes up in Dark World Oz, and there's like a purple vape cloud with a face, and your issue is how did that dude know to drive over there right now?
Yes, it is.
I think it's already.
There's a story about from when they were filming Star Wars, and Mark Hamill is like, well, they shot these out of order, but like this scene takes place after the trash compactor. My hair should be wet, and Harrison Ford says, "Kid, it's not that kind of movie." That's what I'm thinking of. Listen, the little details they want to get right are like Thanos' helicopter in the background.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about continuity?
Fuck continuity.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do actually have a picture of that copter queued up because I just love that so much.
Yeah.
That's just so. That's such
Thanos
a
copter
beautiful.
is so good.
That's a hilarious detail because they already kind of alluded to it in Endgame with like his weapon that he had at the end. But yeah, that was cool, and we're gonna get into the Easter eggs in a moment. But I don't know. Did anybody else have that? Mikey, did you have that issue? Did you notice? Did that thought cross your mind?
I noticed. So can I say I noticed it, but I only noticed on the second viewing. The first viewing, it was all very fast and everything kind of happened right when I was watching it. But then I thought about it when it happened the second time. And at first I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Let me go back in my mind real time when this was happening. The bigger problem is the fact, not even problem, is more like, so how I explain that away in fan brain is they see a Loki flying from the sky. They're like, come with us. We care about you. You're a Loki. Meanwhile, everyone else, like, this all happens in like 5 minutes worth of time, right? So like he gets pruned a few minutes before she does, right? 5 minutes to like look around, see a car, try and assess your situation. Wait, I'm still alive. I just got pruned. Cool. And then seeing someone else falling from the sky. Wait, that's Sylvie. Let me go get her. By that point, Loki's already been taken away by the other Lokis, right? So that's why I was okay with it.
I don't think there's.
It
5
also
minutes
assumes
between
that
those
they're all.
prunings.
That's also why there's like you have to assume that all the prunings go to the exact geographical location where like they hit them with a stick.
True.
Like, how does that work? And like, you know, there's a million ways you could criticize that. In a million ways, as a fan, you could go on to like the Loki wiki and like explain it away.
I mean, I'm not gonna like harass the director on Twitter or anything about it.
Excuse me, but. Yeah, the panel in Comic-Con for the next 10 years with that director on when she's doing something else completely. The whole team, all the producers, everyone's doing something else. Like, so in 2021's Loki,
Do you suppose this is some kind of magic xylophone?
it's gonna be that scene in Galaxy Quest where like the nerd comes up like, there's an inaccuracy in this one episode, and meanwhile like the creator's been drinking and they're angry and hate their fans and they just yell at this person.
I also
try not to be that guy.
Was reminded of it now that you guys have said it several times out loud. Every time they say the word pruning in this show, I get a weird little flinch reaction because it just sounds so much like an Urban Dictionary term. It means something horrible.
It's like when you like, I guess, soak your balls in water or some shit.
It's something
for like
with
12
balls,
hours,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Maybe something to do with period blood, you know. I mean,
Snipping off pieces of something, you know, whatever.
okay. So yeah. So anyway. So yeah. I mean, you know, I don't think like a ton like happens plot wise in this episode. As far as like just like various events. I mean, it's, you know, notable, like, you know, once Sylvie gets pruned and like the Loki battle happens, you know, then it's just kind of build up, and then there's the big ending. And then of course we end the episode with Loki and Sylvie hand in hand walking, you know, journeying into mystery, right? And so I want to talk about the Easter eggs, because this episode is like a Where's Waldo page. When it comes to just either deep references to, you know, deep references to both, you know, just Marvel history, right? Potential hints at, you know, what could be coming, you know, villain-wise in the next episode, and also just real life, like, unsolved mysteries, kind of like how in the first episode we had the whole DB Cooper reveal that, you know, Loki was doing a Don Draper impression and he was DB Cooper, and you know, and we got like just a ton of shit. So everybody, you know, if you could just pick what your favorite is in your head that you noticed, or maybe you found out after the fact that you thought was really cool. You know, I already said that the Thanos copter was I thought was super cool, but I also want to just point out right now, so the Yellow Jacket's helmet from Ant-Man, like the villain from the first Ant-Man, there's a giant version of his fucking helmet just randomly. I didn't notice this the first time. It wasn't until I rewatched the episode with my fiance Emily, and Emily pointed it out. She's like, wait, she said, is that Ant-Man's helmet? But then I looked it up, and it was like, no, this is the bad guys. This is the bad guy's helmet. And I thought that was cool. That, you know, because he only shrunk in that movie, right? He didn't actually get bigger, right?
He didn't get bigger, no. But I mean, yeah.
So he was only supposed to shrink.
Yeah, that might be like his Nexus event.
But Pym particles, like, yeah, that maybe. But also, Pym particles technically work both ways. You have to know how to do it properly, and maybe being shot through a Nexus, or maybe that was his Nexus event.
Yeah, but that was pretty cool. Also, this is one that I saw online. Just give me one moment to queue up. But the Living Tribunal.
This is my favorite, by the way. This is my favorite, and I can say why real quick. So, Living Tribunal, there's only one. There is no Nexus event, no divergence for the Living Tribunal. There is only one. He is the watcher of timelines, of everything. So if you fucked over and destroyed the Living Tribunal, like at least in Marvel Comics, not saying what they're going to do with the MCU version, it could be a reference.
Sure.
But that's what you do to ensure that you can be like, well, I got to get rid of you because what I'm going to do means that you can't, like, you're not going to accept this. So throw your fucking body here. Living Tribunal is essentially the watcher of all timelines, like the watcher above watchers in a lot of ways. Like once you get to cosmic stuff in Marvel, it gets really tricky, and depending upon which timelines or things you care about in Marvel comics. But Living Tribunal is if you go too far, if you fuck things over, he'll show up and be like, no.
Yeah.
And there's one for all universes. All like there's a 616, you know, like the infinite multiverses. He's the one guy is like, no, you can't do that shit. So sorry. That is fucking awesome. So when I saw that, I only saw it in my second viewing actually, because someone said it's in there and I didn't catch it the first time. Love that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Jay, what was your favorite?
Probably the frog. I mean, it's gotta be.
Yeah, Throg. Yeah, Throg jumping in towards the fucking hammer
towards Mjolnir, like in the jar and everything. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Jay, what was your favorite?
I gotta go with the Thanos copter. I'm basic like that, but like it was an obvious one that like it was nice to see, and it's like it's less impressive because it's been a meme for a while, but like it's kind of cool that it finally made its way in there.
Yeah, totally. And somebody actually, he was in, I think he did the third episode of our show, Aaron Collins. He messaged me once the fourth episode had dropped and we all knew that, Alligator Loki was in there. And he said, 100% we're getting Throg in the next episode. And so, Aaron, if you're out there watching, you called it, bruh. You called it, buddy. Good job, man. So there's just a bunch of shit. And let me pull up that IGN article again, because I do want to just kind of do a quick run through of like the various things that we saw. I will say one interesting thing that we saw was, because people were speculating after the previous episode, and we just saw kind of like this half of the Avengers Tower, right? It kind of cut off like right here. So now we saw the full Avengers Tower there, but it says Kang on the side, which is a reference to the comics where Kang bought the Avengers Tower off of Tony Stark and basically became Kang's base, which, and is one of like multiple Kang references in the episode. And I definitely want to kind of have a whole section where we just speculate who the villain is. I feel like it is, I mean, if they don't put Kang in the next episode, it'll just because they seriously faked us the fuck out. I also would laugh if it were fucking Mephisto. If it were just like, here's Mephisto, fuckers. It's like, you'll get Kang and Hawkeye and you'll like it.
Gotcha.
Gotcha, bitch. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. Another thing that I noticed in the room with all the Lokis, in the fucking Loki hideout, there was a Polybius arcade machine.
That is so great.
Yes.
I love that.
Who
that was one of my
knows the
favorite
history
Easter eggs
of
too.
this?
Yeah, that's
Mike,
fantastic.
Can you break down the history of this thing? To
So
our
it's a
viewers?
legend of that there's that Polybius is a arcade game that was supposed to supposedly drive people to murderous rampage and I mean, I'm not sure. There's multiple versions of the story, whether it's a military thing, like we're going to test out, see if we can make good soldiers with this thing by this game that has subliminal things in it that makes you a murderous person, or if it's like we made a game and it accidentally makes you crazy. But the idea is that it's completely fictional. People have made repros on it. It's such a huge urban legend that people have done reproductions of the actual cabinets out there, and you can buy them online. They're very expensive, and it's basically like, oh, when you get it, it's Tetris. But the cool thing on the outside is it's Phlebas, right? But the legend is it's a fictional, just like a lot of things we saw in this last episode, a fictional idea, just like the cloaking warship and things, right? Like this World War II warship that could cloak and go completely invisible. It's a urban legend, basically, about if you play this game, this arcade game, you become murderous, kill everyone in the place, and be like, yeah. And the military is like, okay, cool, yep, so it works. That's the short version of the urban legend that I heard, growing up at least. And then Angry Video Game Nerd gave a longer... you play it and it makes you murder everyone in the room. And they're like, so the whole idea was that the U.S. military put these in arcades to test them and be like, well, does it really work? So we're going to put it in an arcade, put a quarter in, and if everyone in the arcade ends up dead, we know this thing is a proven, tested weapon. Very Resident Evil, by the way.
Yeah.
Completely. Let me get this. I want to pull this up. And so let's speed run a few of these. We got the Thanos copter, Frog Thor that we already talked about, who's hopping towards Mjolnir, which was hilarious. It took me a couple times to realize what that actually was. I was like, is that a Loki? What is that? And then it's like pausing this. Oh, it's like, it's Throg. Okay. We got Roxy Wine from which is kind of funny because we already got Rock's cart in the previous couple episodes. There's a shield helicarrier in the background of one scene. You got Ronan's ship, the Dark Aster, as seen, of course, in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think also in Captain Marvel, right? If I'm correct.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Living Tribunal. We got where President Loki. The pizza delivery car. Some people have speculated might even be like a reference to Pixar, how they always put like the fucking Pizza Planet
pizza
delivery.
Place. Yeah, Pizza Planet. Yeah.
And then this one has the license plate GRN W1D, which people think is like a reference to the Marvel comic creator Grunwald, who Mobius is based on, and of course Mobius is actually driving the car. I thought this was super cool because I didn't know about this until this episode, because I was like, I wonder what the deal is with this fucking this big ass ship that just dropped. And they put this all over the trailer, right? Like. And so I looked it up, and so it's the USS Eldridge, which was a ship that disappeared that they think was part of the Philadelphia experiment. Let me pull this up real quick because I think this is fascinating. So this is the US Eldridge Wikipedia page. This is really small, actually. But basically, this is just this big destroyer that, somebody claims, a man calling himself Carlos Miguel Allende, basically claimed that, the U.S. government did some weird cloaking shit to it, and then it was just lost at sea, and because it was like, the cloaking shit was so powerful that you couldn't even see it with the naked eye, and so it'll just be lost forever, according to it. But nobody knows officially what happened.
Best story ever. Yeah.
And the ocean's a big ass place, so it's easy for things to get lost. Did we ever find that plane? Remember that plane a couple of years ago? What plane was that?
Yeah, they found that.
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It got shot down. It's a horrible story. That's a dark story. Save it for next episode.
Maybe that'll be on the next episode. Maybe we'll actually
the Malaysian plane you're talking about? Yeah, it got shot down. Yeah. Whoops.
Whoops. I don't know. They should have been here. Or maybe if we didn't. Maybe
that would have been great if they're like Malaysian plane. You're like, well.
And Logan's like, oh, that's that Malaysian plane. So we got Oswald and the Martians. Also, they didn't. This article doesn't mention it, but this is two separate bridges from San Francisco, the Golden Gate and whatever. I think the Bay. What is the other bridge in San Francisco?
I don't know.
There's like Bay Bridge. Right?
Golden Gate is like the big one. It's like the one that everybody knows. But the other one,
Bay Bridge, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Bay Bridge, and it looks like this is some weird hybrid of the two.
Well, that's when Magneto got done with the both of them in X3, right? Lifting the
Maybe
So what
maybe
happens?
that's the reference to that. Maybe X-Men confirmed for episode 6 ? And then there'll be like a screen cap where like like the
Well,
YouTuber
it's
screen cap.
confirmed so you do that thing, and then that's the reference is film Simps. So it works out great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me see. So Loki. This was like a sword that Loki wielded in the comics. People are saying this is Chronopolis. Do we think this is Chronopolis, which is King's personal city? What do we think?
It's such a flash in the pan. I don't know
it's
about
hard to
that.
say.
Yeah. It could be, but I kind of doubt they're going to put as big of a character introduction as Kang the Conqueror into the final episode of this show.
Yeah.
And not really milk that reveal, or at the very least just make it a significant part of a actual movie.
Yeah. I think I think I said this at the beginning of when we were doing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, they tend not to reveal the villain at the last minute. They don't do a whole story and then the last minute it's like this guy popped up and he's the bad guy. Usually you're following the bad guy all the way through. So I think it's someone in the existing cast of characters that's going to turn out to be a bad guy. Maybe Mobius has been orchestrating all this shit the whole time. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily going to be, but it could be. I have no thing to disprove that.
Well, let's use that as a segue then. Who do we think it's going to be? And before we go around and everybody gives your opinion, there is a big theory among those annoying YouTubers that we talked about, that Miss Minutes is the villain. Miss Minutes is the villain all along. I mean, we definitely see that she is some sort of she's sentient, right? And then you kind of get a hint in the latest episode in her interactions with Renslayer. One, you see her at the beginning of the episode helping Renslayer stall for time. And as they, as TVA SWAT agents come in to apprehend Sylvie. But then we get an additional scene with Renslayer talking to Miss Minutes where she I need all the files about the creation of the TVA. And that's when we realize for sure that Renslayer also doesn't know what the fuck is going on here. And it definitely seems like Miss Minutes is kind of pacifying her as well on some way.
Yeah, she's confused as fuck. She's
Yeah.
Okay, let me find those files you asked for. So I think that puts it right out the window, though. I think that theory is hilarious. That's a stretch. This episode
fucking
broke
mad.
that.
You'll be
I'll
mad?
be so fucking happy.
I'll be so the cartoon clock is the big bad of this fucking show. I will be exclusively Image and Dark Horse comics from here on out.
Why, though? Why, Jay?
First off, Image does great stuff. Second, imagine the fucking CGI fight they would have with Tom Hiddleston fighting a fucking magic clock, an animated clock.
With a really epic soundtrack in the back, yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating it because I don't entertain the real possibility of that. That's way too out there for Disney-owned MCU. But no, I'm exaggerating how I would actually react. But I mean, fucking come on, no, that would be so not satisfying.
Yeah,
why not?
An answer, because it's the impression that I get of Mighty Mighty Boss Sounds of Miss Minutes is it's like an algorithm. It's like an AI and something that they put a face and a personality.
It's a Jarvis.
Right, exactly, for the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would annoy me if it was surprise, she's been sentient the whole time, and this is her. What are they gonna go into this castle thing that they revealed, and she's gonna be sitting on the fucking throwing swords or something.
Give it to me.
That's you're only selling this harder to me. You're only like if she's like sitting on like a throne of like skulls and
No,
Like a Loki on a leash at her feet.
yeah,
a throne of clocks and watches.
Broken clocks. Just there's nothing on the soundtrack. Just this echoing tick, tick, tick.
which actually kind of it plays into that. If that is the case, they've been kind of alluding to it in like the Loki intro, because when you see all the Loki intro, it's just the word Loki, but like all the letters keep changing, and it looks like kind of like various ransom letters. You do kind of get a click 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 as it goes click 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 click. So I could see this being I also liked. I guess it all depends on how you felt about Ralph Bohner. I loved Ralph Bohner. I thought that reveal was hilarious. I love when a studio trolls its fans and treats them so poorly, but in like a funny way.
Oh, you are a Nintendo fan.
It's true, yes. It's like abuse me more, daddy. Although, I mean, as much as
LED.
Yeah, exactly. Although, as much of a Nintendo fan as I am, I'm not buying that fucking OLED model. I absolutely would need it. I don't play my Switch nearly enough handheld to justify it. I would need it to have a little extra oomph for my TV.
Yeah.
I almost only play mine
TV
handheld, but I already have a PS Vita, so I don't feel the need.
Nice.
Yeah, Mikey already has a jailbroken Tamagotchi, so. Okay, so Jay, if not Miss Minutes, who do you think the villain of this show is, based on everything in your brain?
I think so. Another theory that I heard was you guys touched on that, like maybe it's Mobius. I had heard a theory that like maybe he does go back to tear down the TVA and something happens there where he realizes why it's necessary and why it needs to be in place, and he actually does go to like the void at the end of time and become the person that sets it all into place. That's interesting to me. I don't know if I believe it, but I do think that is something you could find a way to explain with good enough writing. The one I find most believable is that it's going to be a Loki of some kind at the helm.
Oh yeah, and I could see that. I could see like they could even do kind of like how they combined the comic character Sylvie the Enchantress with Lady Loki, and Sylvie is just kind of both those characters at once. I could see them doing like a character like He Who Remains, just the old dude at the end of time, and it's a Loki that became He Who Remains.
If it turns out Miss Minutes is a Loki, I'll be less upset. I'll be less.
I could also see Miss Minutes just being an avatar for the villain. So like Miss Minutes, is kind of just and then real villain presents themselves. And it's I also think that I could definitely see it being Mobius, just because they have hinted so much at there being at least one other Mobius, like with the like in the the second episode where she tells him to use a coaster because he keeps leaving rings on her thing, like I don't remember doing that. And then even in the latest episode, when he's talking about how he doesn't remember alligator Loki, he doesn't remember pruning alligator Loki, and then has that great line where it's like, I mean, he could be pretending, but that would just be more Loki. It's always the game within the game with you guys, and I respect that. And just it's just man, he's so good. And then especially another Mobius line I love, where he's like, "You throw a rock out here, you hit a Loki."
I will also say that what you just said about like they get there and it looks like Miss Minutes is the one behind everything, but then there's like it's being used as an avatar by the actual big bad. That would make a lot of sense due to how many parallels with Wizard of Oz and references to Wizard of Oz have been in this show.
Absolutely.
Because that would be a very Wizard of Oz move, that this glowing face is the the representative for the TVA, and then there's literally a man behind the curtain, as they even said in this episode, pulling the strings.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of funny because even in WandaVision at the end of the season, one of the movie titles on the marquee at the cinema in the center of town was Oz the Great and Powerful. So like all the MCU things, outside of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So 2/3 of the MCU TV shows.
All
so
the good
far,
MCU TV shows.
all the good MCU TV shows. But yeah, okay. Mikey, who do you think the villain is?
Well, I think we're kind of burying the concept of something that I think is maybe too bold for Marvel, but what I would like to see, I'd like to see something where by the end it's like, the concept of a clock with no clocksmith, right? Where everything is set up and maybe Miss Minute's a great example of like we just set this all up, and maybe it gives you a hint to who it is moving into what they're doing next, but maybe who is behind it doesn't matter as much as bringing it down. I think like what I would like now that we only have one episode left, and that episode is supposedly like 48 minutes as well, right? Something I would like from that is maybe you don't have to have this big fight. It just has to be let's take this down. We can all come to an agreement on this. There'll be some fights and some zip zaps, but who is directly responsible doesn't have to be resolved in this season, this show, this thing, right? We break it and we walk away and we leave the not the mystery, but we know we did a good thing, and you can find that to be a very good resolution and leave some hints to where it's going to go next. Because it's again, season 2 is already going to happen, right? We got a season 2 of Loki happening. I also think this might lead more into the multiverse because they're breaking the TVA, right? It's going to happen. They're not going to be like TVA is still a thing at the end of this season. So the multiverse is allowed to exist after this series, right? So that's the thing no one's even really talking about. I think it's going to be something more traditional than that, but that's what I would like. So I'm going to go with what I would like as the villain. I like to see there no villain. Like there's a lot of systems in place. It almost like, how you work at Starbucks and you're like, hey, repeatable routine in this system and that system. And then you're like, wait a minute, who built this? And you're like, well, they quit years ago.
But it always was.
No one. You make your latte has always been this way, and you're like, no, it hasn't. Someone made it. I'm like, yeah, but they went on to other things. So who cares? They went on to be in another movie, so don't worry about it. That's my perspective.
Interesting. Okay, that's a very valid, interesting theory, and because especially this season has been kind of. A criticism on bureaucracy, right? It's just, bureaucracy that exists solely to keep bureaucracy going. It's like the fucking insurance industry in this country. It exists just to make sure it exists. So that would be kind of funny if it's just like, there's nobody running the show. It just is. Although I think there's going to be a villain personally. Jer. Okay, Jer, who do you think?
I'm sticking with there's something being up with Mobius. I would not be super surprised if there was like you said, Miss Minutes was an avatar for something. I also think there's a chance that it might be a Sylvie that succeeded of some kind. Like she brought down the TVA and it started time up somehow, like some fucking bullshit like that. I think that's a possible. It feels like it's compared to Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. It's way harder to pin down. What it could be because it could be a double of anything we've ever seen. So I'm going to stick with I'd say I feel like there's something up with Mobius. I don't know if he's going to be like the villain, mostly because it would be honestly. I'll put my chips in and say Mobius because I want to see Owen Wilson play a villain, play a bad guy, go way against type.
Turn heel, man.
Yeah, love it. Let's do it. I was I like Mikey's idea of there not being anything. We just get there and it's just like, oh fuck, it just has been. Oh, okay. And then they have to dismantle it, and then we see where that what that opens up for the rest of the MCU. But
for sure, yeah. I mean, so I'm gonna divide my answer up into two parts: what I think it is versus what I hope it is. What I think it is, I think that one of the hallmarks of these shows is that the villain is always yourself, right? Like fucking in WandaVision, Vision literally fights himself. Wanda is fighting a what you assume is a more powerful witch until she realizes how powerful she is, and we've already kind of had that kind of hinted at in this show where it's like Lokis don't know how powerful they are. So I think like especially when we know that that the whole point of Loki's life is to just try to be the dude, fail at being the dude, make other people the dude in the absence of succeeding at that, and then die by Thanos, right? Like that is just how it goes, time and time again. That's how it's always been, and how it always needs to be. So I think that clearly, and then you also got like kind of the last episode where you just saw that it was just Loki, Lokis can't work together, right? Lokis never work together. Lokis always turn at each other. They always, try to backstab each other. So I think the idea that they go to that fucking castle on the hill or whatever the fuck that place is, that's actually right behind me right now, but now it's not. That, they go there and what they find is maybe Richard E. Grant, maybe Tom Hiddleston in, prosthetics, and it's the villain. It was me all along. I am the Loki at the end of time. The only thing that could challenge my rule is the idea of two Lokis working together, which is what we have with Sylvie and our Loki, as I'm calling him. So I could definitely see that, and I think that's probably the most likely. If I were a betting man, that's what I would place my chips on. Although I will say, the hints at Kang kind of can't be ignored, and even if he's not like the big bad, I could even see like maybe a post-credit scene that introduces him. One, we have Jonathan Majors cast as the villain. He is set to appear in Quantumania next year or the year after. I'm not sure exactly when. Ravonna Renslayer, the character, is in the comics canonically his girlfriend and obsessed with him. We know that he lives in Chronopolis, which is a huge city that's like microscopic, right? And in the comics, I think it has been at certain times. Chronopolis has been in a snow globe, which you see a snow globe on her shelf, and her little shelf of shit. You got multiple references to him in the previous episode, including his name on the side of the tower. There were a couple others that I can't remember that I saw in like Screen Crush and New Rockstars and Heavy Spoilers. That are just outright references to like different versions. Oh, there's like the Sphinx in one scene, which he went back and became what, King Tut or some shit, right? In the comics,
in Immortus, he's been like so many characters because he's in every timeline and becomes a god in so many of them, basically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because he's just this bored demigod that just like, well, can I just go to this other timeline and rule it? So I think that. Just keeping that in mind, this show, at least, if it's not going to introduce Jonathan Majors, or just the concept of Kang in this, although I feel like, think about how Guardians of the Galaxy just had Thanos for one scene, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh shit, Thanos is here, and it's not even something I really picked up on the first time I watched it, but then like rewatching it after like the Infinity Saga had already come out, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like just randomly throw in a scene of Thanos just getting a report, and I could see it being kind of like that, where he gets some sort of report from Ravonna or whatever.
They first introduced Thanos in a post-credit, right?
In Avengers, technically.
So
Avengers,
he was
the OG Avengers?
The OG Avengers, in 2012.
So he was established a little bit before he had a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy.
But I could
see
final
that
form,
happening
plot-wise, final form, he was in Guardians. But I think that is the direction they're going to go in terms of Kang. I actually think they're setting up some amazing stuff, and honestly, he's such a deep character with so many. You can't just kill Kang the Conqueror and be like, we're done. Yeah, you got to kill 20 characters, and you really shouldn't even. You can't even kill them. They're all in different timelines. So how do you even do that?
Yeah.
So I think this is I think all those references are. It's very much like setting up Mephisto in WandaVision. Mm-hmm. It's hard to ignore all those things, but I also think it's hard to take it as the last episode of this TV series is where we're going to have the big reveal of Kang the Conqueror as Kang himself. I think if anything, it'd be one of his avatars because he has so many. He has so many avatars. I would vote for if it's going to be Kang, it's not Kang, it's Immortus. That'd be my or even like one of those characters that are like, well, I'm the final boy, and here I am, can't do much about it. And you're like, okay, that sucks. But you just read the TVA, so good for you.
I hope it's someone new named Final Boy.
Final boy. I was gonna say, Kang has more avatars than James Cameron.
I haven't seen any of those either, so
Yeah. So I guess so let's just go around outside of like the villain reveal. What do we think is going to happen in the final episode? What do we think is going to be resolved? And what do we think season 2 potentially looks like? Obviously, without the context of the final episode. And let's start with Jay for this one. What do you think?
What do we have in store for the final episode? Is the question. I was saying earlier, I don't know if I said this since we went live, but I think I touched on it at the very top of the episode, but that this show, one of the reasons I think it's my favorite of the Disney Plus MCU shows is that the other two, and you were talking about this, the last episode was A, kind of a mess, and B, kind of so set up by the end of the second to last episode that you could fill in the blanks yourself if you've seen enough MCU stuff. Like, you kind of knew exactly what to expect from that last episode of WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I feel like I don't have that in this situation. Like, I can't Mad Lib a plot together for you for how this episode's going to play out. And that's really exciting to me because what I was saying before we did go live, this episode this week felt the same way to me, where if they had not given us that scene at the end of the credits the week before, and you had just started this week with no warning of something like this, Loki opens his eyes, there's an old man, a kid, a black dude, and a crocodile looking at him. Like, no one would have been like, called that shit. Like, no one saw that, knew that we were about to go that hard left. And so that kind of prepared me to feel like I don't know where we're about to go. But 2 points that like Jared's been making, it's a Disney-owned Marvel property, and this is the last episode, so things are going to get tied up. Things are going to be wrapped up in a nice little bow. There's going to be a happy ending, probably for this Loki, which that's really what I want from the last episode. Is have the point of this show to me is get it so that a Loki is not dead, has gone through the character transformation that it took so many movies for that one to go through. And now we have a level-headed Loki back in the MCU. That's really what I want on the last episode.
That looks like what we're going to get. Jer, what do you think?
As Guns N' Roses said, take me down to Zip Zop City where everything's green and everyone's Loki.
Yeah, that's how those lyrics go.
Yeah, I've listened to that song in the past minute. It's. I think that we're just going to get like a Marvel TV fucking Zip Zop City like fucking laser show, and it'll be fun, and there'll be a lot of charging up lasers and yelling at each other. I agree with Jay. I think this is going to close the loop on like maybe this Loki. Maybe it'll end like him and Sylvie will have a happy ending and be inserted somewhere in the timeline, or maybe Sylvie will go missing somehow, and he'll season 2 will be about him trying to find her or rescue her in some way. Or other way around.
Is Na'vi from the end of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to go find Sylvie.
Yeah, or the other way around. He sacrifices himself in a way, and she, tries to rescue him in season 2, whatever form that takes. I think we're going to have some kind of cliffhanger that doesn't expand on the MCU. If the reports of season 2 of Loki date back to like November 2020, so who knows if plans have changed. But sure. I think if that's going to happen, I think they'll leave something that'll let us re-enter this world via Loki or Sylvie, but also maybe a couple Easter eggs that'll be explained by the wider MCU later on.
Okay, Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna stay away from details of what would happen in plot necessarily, because I don't actually, honestly, to me, they don't really matter. They do, but they don't as long as the themes follow through and they make sense. And the themes to me that I need followed through on in the last episode are the kind of things where I'm looking back at WandaVision and some of the themes that I felt like were dropped in the last, 5 minutes. There's great moments, great scenes, and it still follows, but like why it loses points for me is like they didn't really follow through on the concept and the themes, right? So what I'm asking for here is they've set up the themes really strongly about being about free will, about the ability to change, about the ability to make choice for yourself and no one controlling your actions. That is the entire thesis of the show. So all I ask for a finale, I don't care if there's zip-zops for 30 minutes, but give me 30 minutes of conversation and character development where they follow through on the themes as they are valid, or this is why they don't work. They could even go my other direction, like actually you can't have free will for this reason, which is not what they're going to do, because like that's not what the characters want, of course. But they're going to go, but I just want them to follow through in a way that like that's where Falcon Winter Soldier won for me, even though it's not a better show than WandaVision. It's just that at least it followed through on its themes really strongly. So when you make a piece of art, I just ask that you make your themes consistent and you follow through. So that's all I'm looking for. We're going to have some fights and battles and things, and it may not be what I'm looking for. As long as the themes are there, that's all I ask for. Is please tell me more about free will, because philosophy minor over here, I care about that shit. So,
Also, real quick, I want to shout out Green Knight because just sent me a comment on Discord. Great podcast, man. Thanks, official Green Knight. Are you the official Green Knight account? Because that's awesome if you are.
It's going to be like a real fucking conflict of interest when we review Green Knight at the end of the month. Let me tell you.
Hopefully we like that.
Yeah.
But if you're just somebody who got the official Green Knight, then that's awesome for you. That's great for you.
Even better.
I'm very proud of you.
Sell that to them.
Yeah, fucking milk A4 for all their money to give it back to them.
Make that bag.
Please don't. They don't have enough money to buy awards.
That's true.
Adam Sandler got robbed.
Adam Sandler. I mean, he at least deserved a nom. And I still think it's a travesty that Willem Dafoe was not nominated for The Lighthouse. Anyway, and also Noonan Destroyer in the chat. The multi-Loki fight scene is the only thing I've correctly predicted so far in this series. I'm happy to be 1 for 30, and hell yeah, that's a good thing to predict.
And you guys mean Adam Sandler getting a nomination for Hoobie's Halloween, right?
Halloween.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's a masterpiece.
I loved Uncut Gems, and I also loved Hoopie Halloween. I'd be satisfied with a nomination for either. I loved Hoopie Halloween. It kind of felt, I was like, oh, this feels like 90s Sandler that I could tolerate.
That's what it seemed like. I've actually seen neither of those movies.
Really? Uncut Gems is amazing, personally.
I've heard
that movie's really good.
It's an anxiety attack in a 90-minute film.
That's kind of why I haven't watched it yet, because that talk was going on during 2020, and I was like, I don't need more stress right now, guys. I don't need something to make me feel bad. I have plenty of that going on.
Well, now that everything's good now, you should go back.
Yeah,
now that there are no problems anymore.
The world has gotten better. We're back to normal.
That's fine.
And anyway, okay, so finally, what do I think the final episode's going to be? I do think that we're going to kind of get the same old, you were the villain all along, you need to defeat an avatar of yourself, especially because the whole concept of this series is Loki has to deal with himself, I mean, even in the last episode, Child Loki says, anytime one of us tries to improve themselves, they get ripped out of the timeline, like, it is very much, the idea of this guy, facing himself head on and, and facing his own narcissism and, and the pain he's inflicted on other people, that's obviously going to come to a head. I would bet money that, they would combine either Immortus or He Who Remains with Loki and just make that a Loki variant. That seems like a very MCU thing, especially given, like, for example, the Taskmaster twist that I will not say out loud in Black Widow, right? Like, it's just like, remember that cool thing that was this one thing in the comics? Well, fuck you, but, we're doing it. We're doing it our way. We're doing it the MCU way. Tony Stark's the father figure to Spider-Man now. Fuck you. But yeah, okay.
It's the MC fuck you. That's the
MC fuck you. Yes, the MC fuck you, baby.
The MCFU is my favorite thing.
I mean, there was no bigger MC fuck you moment than the Ralph Boner reveal. That was
for
like,
sure.
just deal with it. You know, like that's the kind of money we got, baby. Like,
when they say phase 4, the F is for fuck you.
yes.
You can't spell 4 without FU. That's a better one. Damn it.
It's totally Disney going, what are you going to watch? I bet we own that too. Try to run away.
How many more Simpsons crossovers you need? We got you, boo. Yeah. So and of course, my want, of course, for the final episode is the Loki orgy. I want kind of like we were like 33% there with the last episode. We needed all of them to like just kind of have that moment where they're like, wait though, and just ripping off shirts and
riding classic Loki's horns.
Yeah, totally.
But they'll make it a low-key orgy where they just all go into a room and you see people taking their clothes off and the door closes and you're like, that's pretty low-key.
Yeah, well, it is Disney Plus, they can't go full out. Okay, so for those of you still watching, we haven't had anybody comment in a while. But we still have a solid amount of watchers, so if you're just hanging out in the background.
We've actually been entertaining this episode.
Yeah,
they
true.
haven't felt the need to comment.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so I do no comment right here. No comment.
Exactly.
So
literally,
I do want to spend the end of this episode talking about specifically the post-credit scene of Black Widow. Me and Jer and Mikey, and not Jay, fuck you, Jay, will be... no, I'm sorry. Thank you for doing the show. I'm sorry that was me right there. We will be reviewing it this Wednesday on the Film Simps, which is going to be a fun show. And I think we should go light on news and trailers so we can... Because I feel like we're going to have a whole debate about Black Widow on that show. Or maybe not. Who knows? We'll play it by ear.
I feel like we're all on like it was okay level. So I don't know how much of a debate we get.
I got tea. Yeah. There's. I'll be the dissenting opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Mikey's going to far from home this shit.
Not that bad. Not that bad.
But we also got Jill Poisson, who
she has not seen it.
She has not seen it, according to her last message in the group chat. So we'll see how she feels. Maybe she'll hate it, and then it'll be great. I always find when one of my favorite reviews we've ever done is the Glitch in the Matrix review, because I love that movie so hard, and Jer and Kanice Mobley despised it, and then hated me for a full half hour. I love that movie. I love crazy people talking about nonsense. So I mean, that's literally this entire channel.
That's true.
So if you're out there and you are watching this right now and you have not seen Black Widow, I'm going to put a big ass spoiler warning on here, because we are going to right now watch the last 3 minutes of that movie. So if you have not seen that movie, what?
Is there any way to specify that's for Black Widow?
Black Widow.
Because if you say spoiler zone is just random on a Loki podcast, people might think they were spoiling Loki,
fair.
which
good point.
True.
Especially if you're just not paying attention.
I hope everyone at this point after watching this knows there's some Loki spoilers.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about it for about 2 hours, but we're not going to give any spoilers.
Recited the script of what happened this
The costumes were fantastic, and I can't say more.
And also Jasnet saw it to that. So okay. I saw it ta-da! Okay, but here we go. So Black Widow spoiler zone. If you don't want to see the ending of Black Widow, which I feel like I just wish that even if they delayed this movie this long, I wish they had just you could just apply to Marvel and they would just send you that scene so you could watch it in a YouTube link, an unlisted YouTube link, because man, I just wish I had it. Okay, so wait, Okay, so Lucille is here and says, my phone restarted for an update and then took like 15 minutes to get back online, LOL, but I'm back now and ready for Black Widow spoilers. Because we're about to do it. I just want to just give it, and we're going to watch the scene, though. Okay, so just for reference, at this point in the movie, the whole movie Black Widow has ended, and, it basically sets, it is the perfect bridge between Civil War and Infinity War for the Black Widow character.
Yes.
Everything that happened in Civil War happened, and then they're setting up everything that's about to happen in the Infinity Saga, and then we get this post-credit scene where, spoiler alert, Yelena Belova, aka Natasha Romanoff's sister, not sister/not sister, but they were both in a MCU ripoff of The Americans together, goes and visits her grave, and away we go.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
Wow. Sorry. I'm allergic to the Midwest. What this woman did, honestly, I can't even imagine.
You're not supposed to be bothering me on my holiday time, Valentina.
Oh, bothering you? Oh, no. I'm just here paying my respects.
You know, coming here makes you look desperate.
Okay.
I want a raise.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. Believe me, you're gonna earn it. I've got your next target. Thought I'd hand deliver it. Maybe you'd like a shot at the man responsible for your sister's death.
No!
Kind of a cute.
Jeremy Renner killed her sister?
And he's kind of cute.
I think that's a period appropriate iPad too. So good for them. Fucking detail ass motherfuckers.
So for those of you who have seen all of Falcon and Winter Soldier, Valentina Allegra Contessa Di Fontaine, maybe I'm mixing up a couple of those words, aka Val, aka fucking Elaine Bennis, aka Julia Louise Dreyfus, aka Selena, what's her name? Selena something from Veep. Anyway, she, Madam Hydra, who we last saw in the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, recruiting U.S. agent, saying things are about to get weird, and when that happens, we won't need a Captain America anymore. Here we see her is establishing a history of working with Yelena Belova. So in the years with Selena Meyer, thank you, Reckless Aaron, Selena Meyer. But yeah, so in the years since the Black Widow movie happened, 2016, 2017-ish. Yelena has established a relationship with Val and has begun working for her, presumably, of course, as an assassin, enough to say that she, one, gets vacation time, probably good benefits, also wants a raise, and then fucking Val says, here's your raise. Kill Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, who, she now says killed your sister, which we know, anybody who's seen Endgame knows that's not true. So I'm gonna go around. One, what did you think about that scene? And two, what do you think this is gonna hint at for, the future of the MCU and specifically the Hawkeye series? And let's start with Mikey for this one.
Yeah, so I think they're building some really interesting lore and things for that Hawkeye series. I'm actually really excited for that show. I think it looks really good, and also I'm a big Kate Bishop fan. So, honestly, one of the best written characters in the last probably 10 years of Marvel Comics. Kate Bishop's fantastic. So I did not see this coming. I'm not gonna lie. I had no okay, so we're gonna have this character, maybe the quasi Thunderbolts, the pre-Thunderbolts, as I'm kind of calling them, because Ross is not. I can guarantee in the long run they're going to be Thunderbolt Ross is in charge of the Thunderbolts. That's why he's whatever. So this is a precursor to Thunderbolts, put together a team of bad folks to go after whatever targets we say. They're like Suicide Squad for the Marvel Universe, right? I see this as interesting. I also don't see it as sticking because we've come to like this character so much, to like her in this movie so much that she's not gonna. It's not gonna be this thing where she's a villain in the piece. It's gonna be the misunderstanding thing, which also is my least favorite trope in all movies ever. So I really hope they don't go too far with that. We like each other, but we're on the same side, but we fight the whole movie until the very end. I hate that. It's very rom-com-y. I don't like it. So, but I did like the twist. I thought that's interesting. It's a good setup. I don't think it's going to be the execution, though. I think that sort of sets up her for being, like it's that might be like the downfall of the pre-Thunderbolts era of like, this person is putting together very haphazardly these people. And the U.S. agent will listen to her very easily, but I'm not really sure you're going to get. No, I don't know. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm fascinated.
I could see Yelena, finding out, especially because she knew that they were tight, right? Based on like a line earlier in the movie where, whatchamacallit, spoiler alert.
They're not bullet holes. They're arrow marks.
But
she name drops him in the movie.
She does. Yeah.
And she's like, me and Clint hung out here, stayed here for 2 days avoiding the cops or whatever. She says shit like that earlier in the movie. Okay. So Jer, what do you think? Basically the two questions I asked Mikey. What did you think of the scene? What do you think this means for the MCU going forward, and specifically Hawkeye?
I think it was a cool scene. I think it was a nice little update on like how she's doing, or if she finds out that Natasha's dead at all. It's a nice little like bow to put around that relationship. I do think that it made me pretty excited for Hawkeye, which I've already been, because once they revealed that the font of the logo is like the same as Matt Fraction's like Hawkeye, I was like, okay, I'm on board 100%.
And you're a big fan of Jeremy Renner's music, so like.
Yes, of course, yeah. If he does even half of the soundtrack, like anything less than half, I'm gonna just give it an F. But yeah,
you're gonna become an Image and Dark Horse guy going forward.
Yeah, I do think that unfortunately for Mikey, I think that we're probably gonna have a little bit of a misunderstanding for a little while. Where she's probably gonna target him for a while, and she's got she kind of has at least a handful of highly trained assassins that don't have names that Jeremy Renner can shoot arrows at for however long.
Non-lethal arrows, of course, because
of course, net arrows, boomerang arrows, whatever.
Boxing gloves.
He can shoot them at them, and then they'll hit a car and they'll skid and then they'll crash, but they'll have like a 1% chance of living. Don't worry.
And that'll be the percent chance. It'll be like Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
It's like,
as long as he doesn't kill with a wrench. But yeah, I think that's the initial setup of it, and maybe we'll get a little bit deeper into Val's plans and whatnot. Towards the end, once they figure out that they're maybe on the same side or being misled or something like that. And I think like eventually, like Val's scheming or whatever, probably is going to be for Thunderbolt, and also probably will come to a head with Captain America 4, unless they add something in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, because they got a few shows, right? They got, multiple shows that it could play into. I mean, obviously Hawkeye is, especially, I looked it up. Florence Pugh was announced as a cast member in the Hawkeye show back in December, which I missed, which I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, absolutely. I probably would have assumed that, Clint Barton was going to show up in some way, shape, or form at the end of Black Widow. And obviously, him and Natasha have such a tight relationship. Their origins are very tightly wound together. So it only makes sense that, that the future of what I assume is going to be our new Black Widow, which is the Elena, is going to have sort of a relationship with him too. Jay, what do you think?
I agree with what pretty much both of the other dudes said, is that I think it makes me excited for Hawkeye. I definitely do think it's going to be that oh, I'm here to kill you, and he's gonna have his Hawkeye in training, and then they're gonna realize the misunderstanding. She's gonna get roped in. That's gonna be the team. It's gonna be like the three of them. I do think that I don't think that's gonna be like the central team for the show, but I think they will end up working together, and she'll ultimately be a good guy in that situation. I'm excited that she's gonna be involved in something else, just because I love saying Russian Marvel character names. So I said Yelena Belova so many times watching that movie, just like I say Ilyana Rasputina every time I watch it.
Ilyana,
yes,
my favorite little sister, Ilyana. Like, very American.
I like saying their names. But yeah, I think that's what you're gonna get, and I think that this is just what MCU loves to do in their last scenes, where it's, here's this character from this movie, we're gonna give you a little glimpse at when you'll see them next, like how is it at the end of Winter Soldier we get a glimpse of, no, it can't be that, but there's a shot of Civil War at the end of some movie where it's just a scene that's actually in Civil War.
They've done that a few times. They did that with
like
Captain
the
Marvel.
post-credit scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is that situation, but I do think this is just that MCU nod of look for her again. This is the next thing that you'll be able to see her in, type of.
I think it was the original Ant-Man that just had like an entire scene from Civil War.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the post credits. And of course, literally Captain Marvel had the most useless scene where it's just her being like, "Hey, I'm here with you guys." And they're like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Fine. This got me more excited. I also didn't know who else other than Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld was in the cast. You got Florence Pugh, you got a lot of great actors. You got Vera Farmiga, who will be reprising the role of Tony Soprano's mom from The Many Saints of Newark in the show, which is gonna finally, just pulling those Sopranos into the MCU.
I think now that we have Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Steinfeld, I think it's very clear what show we're building here.
Yes, and
lore.
And I'm also very excited to see Michael Richards in the MCU. I think he needs another chance, man.
Look at Black Panther.
Kramer confirmed for episode 6 of Loki.
Listen, if season 2 of I Think You Should Leave taught me anything, it's that people can change. Kramer used to be a huge piece of shit. So I think that's exciting. I think it's cool. I've seen criticism that it was somebody wrote it in the Shushy Cinema page, and then Reckless Aaron wrote in the comments, "Emily Dickinson MCU crossover." Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah, fuck yeah. But yeah, somebody wrote it in the Shushy Cinema group that they just hated the post credit scene because they just think that it's just, I don't know. I guess they thought it was clunky or just hitting us over the head. It just seemed like just an ad. Like it should have just been like, watch Hawkeye on Disney Plus this fall on,
Have they ever seen a Marvel film before?
Yeah.
Have they? This is a question. Just be honest question.
Yeah. Every Marvel movie is an ad for the next 5 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Except Endgame.
And
Endgame didn't have a post credit scene.
But then everyone got excited because there was a hammer clanking at the end, and everyone went on insane online, like, "But there's someone building an Iron Man suit." And like, not really, but whatever. It's cool.
This to me, like, maybe it was a little bit clunky, but to me, it was more they needed a way to justify where this movie came out because it did not come out in its place in the MCU timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they had to add some scene that made it a 2021 Marvel thing that tied it into what's currently going on in the MCU.
I think that was always going to be the case, though. I think that was like that Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like they were planning on her big reveal being that post-credit scene, like her big reveal in the MCU, and then her popping up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. You're like, oh shit! Now she's recruiting U.S. agent, but
right.
That's the one thing about Yeah.
But then
Thing
some
is, the
motherfucker
movie's-
ate a bat in Wuhan, China.
The movie is only technically like a year and a few months behind its release schedule, so we have to remember that. But also, it was written a few years before that and filmed a year before that and written a few years before that.
Yeah.
So as I was telling a friend of mine today, I'm like, just keep in mind, Civil War. When Civil War the movie came out, which is that this is in the direct, like, hey, a few months after this, Obama was still president.
Yeah.
So, like, this is like a perspective change, and the movie was written around that time. Like, let's make do a Black Widow thing, right. And this is like the problem with if you delay a movie where like you got this timeline, you can stretch it, but like the end credits, like I think it was always supposed to be that way. It's just the rest of the movie did not age great, and. But that's not the end credit. It's not even Marvel's fault, really. I mean, well, it is kind of because they should have released it a year earlier. Yeah. Just let it out.
Yeah.
Just let it out.
Disney Plus original. Although I think I've heard multiple people, including Dan Harold, a good friend of the channel, and myself, Dan Harold, aka Bat Nerd Begins, just texted me just right before the show started. I got like a whole paragraph of text about how he's so glad that they waited to drop the movie now.
Yeah, what?
Experience.
I love this man.
He missed, and it's the first packed theater he's been in since before the pandemic, and it was such a great experience. And I don't know, man. I don't know what they're saying about Taskmaster. Taskmaster, I thought was the best part of the movie. I thought they were on the bottom line.
Dan siding with corporate interests.
I love Dan so much. We're gonna talk about this on Wednesday, but I love Dan so much. That's such a Dan opinion.
The most extreme case of pop culture Stockholm syndrome I've seen in my life.
Yes,
that dude loves to be dominated by the things that he throws his money at.
Yeah. He's a corporate bottom, is what it is. He's not in real life, but in terms of businesses, he's a corporate bottom.
Yeah.
In social interactions, he is the dominant one, and it's so fucking frustrating because he gets these most popular opinions like he's brave for saying it.
Dude,
he's a walking sunk cost fallacy.
This banner should just say Dan Harold shit talking zone.
And this from a person like I love the man to death. Like I'd fight in a foxhole with that guy.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
are great fun. They're great fun, and I'm happy to have him be the opposing force in every argument I have in your Facebook group. But he's the opposing force in every fucking argument that I have in your Facebook group.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sure. And I'm just putting in the comments right now. Everyone sub to Bat Nerd Begins on Twitch. Everybody,
follow Bat Nerd Begins. He's amazing.
Yeah,
we're playing some RE5 together soon. So sub to him because even I love the man enough that I'll play games with him online. So you should do that. So
he's a great person. But I mean, we did
much love, but
me and Jer have done multiple podcasts with this guy. One where we attacked him for... Actually, I attacked him for his Wonder Woman opinion because he liked Wonder Woman 1984. Although, Jer, you were more on his side than mine.
I didn't hate Wonder Woman 1984 either.
I split the baby on that one. I was watching that show and I was like, I actually was trolling Justin afterwards, but whatever. Like I split the baby on that one.
Garbage. And then we had an entire 2-hour podcast where we yelled at him about his opinion on Tenet with Mark Gallagher,
which is trash.
Fantastic. Which is trash. And then a couple months ago, he literally came out of the woodwork to strong arm his way into the Mortal Kombat review episode so he could defend Mortal Kombat because he gave that... What did he give that shit? Like a 9? Right? He gave that shit
something absurd.
That was insane. And I had to stop watching that show. Like, I was in the comments and I was like throwing shade and I actually had to stop because I'm like, stop, he's already dead. Like,
Finish him. That's the loudest I've ever been doing the podcast.
Yeah.
I really liked Mortal Kombat. In your Facebook group when he posted his review about how much he loved it and you should just have fun, my comment was fuck Dan. I liked it too. And then he was like, I agree. I was like, do not talk to me about it. You're gonna ruin it. I just know that I'm on.
Oh no, Dan likes it. Oh no. It's a bad sign.
Yeah, man. Anyway, all shit talking. Imagine if you've never seen the show before and
Oh
you're
my
tuning
God.
in now.
This is gonna go in the special clips. We're gonna make a special highlight reel of just all talking about Dan Harold.
Yeah.
We need we need to do what Disney Plus is doing. We need like a Film Simps Legends, and we need like a whole Dan Harold, like 10 minutes of just various clips of him. Like, I don't know what you guys think. Tenet is the best movie of 2020. It's a 9.5 out of 10.
It's like a sizzle reel.
It's a top
Harold
3 though.
history.
Oh, come! It's great. They swept the leg.
No, we have to do what fucking Disney's doing with their promo. Just take his words out of context. Tenet is not my favorite movie. That's promo.
Yeah.
For me.
For me in the MCU. But yeah. I don't know. So yeah, but back to Black Widow. Yeah, we'll get more into our, me, Mikey, and Jared will get more into our thoughts about the actual movie itself on Wednesday. I do think if you're rewatching like the MCU, or if somebody's watching the MCU for the first time and just doing it chronologically, I would actually advocate for watching Black Widow immediately after Civil War. I think it works way better emotionally. It pays off a lot more earlier.
Yeah.
And even the post-credit scene that we just watched, right? Even the post-credit scene we just watched, where they basically reveal that Natasha is dead and that they say, that Clint, aka Hawkeye, is the person who killed her. That actually makes her eventual death in Endgame better, in my opinion, because one, it foreshadows it, and two, when I saw her die in the theater in Endgame, I was like, really? Like, I was like, that's what? But she got the fucking movie, So, and then it just annoyed me for 2 fucking years because I was like, well, what does that fucking movie look like? And then I finally know. It
looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good, But I think that it works better, and it just foreshadows. And then, because then when you see them go towards Vormir, when you see Hawkeye and Black Widow go to Vormir in Endgame, you'll be like, oh shit, does he like sacrifice her? And then you'll see the whole little what will they, won't they kill each other battle, and I think it even makes that scene better retroactively for me, at least. What do you guys think? Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I agree in placing Black Widow in that if you're going through the MCU, that's put it where it takes place. That makes perfect sense.
War.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like 90% of it doesn't matter. As far as
generally. Yeah. It's funny because it's the only time I would ever say, like, actually take it out of the release order and do it that way, because I do think it adds something.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate that Vormir scene because I have reasons why I like it, but like, I do think that actually foreshadowing, especially because, and you might forget, but like, there's a time jump that happens, post like for when she dies, so you could like keep the timestamp in the universe and be like, well, she dies in the future sometime. A lot of time for that to happen, so that Endgame time jump would have been a bigger surprise. Yeah. So that's kind of cool,
Yeah, and and especially like you're gonna be watching Infinity War and you're like, is it now? Is it now? And then she survives.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
and there's like little things like you know why her hair is blonde suddenly. And
that was a big. When I saw Infinity War, important. I was like, "Why is her hair blonde?
Why does she have a green vest?"
Yeah, and then the vest has meaning.
But yeah, I also just love Florence Pugh's character, and I'm already kind of more invested in her than I ever was in Natasha. I think she's just
definitely
an adorable character. I love her little it's got pockets. I could put stuff in, like I just her, and especially her, just like both times I've watched this movie. I've watched Black Widow twice in 24 hours.
Why do you do that with your arm?
Why do you do that with your arm? And you're a poser. It's just fantastic performance. So in summary, I would suggest that you watch Black Widow before Infinity War, and then you're probably going to want to watch Midsommar after the Hawkeye show, at the very least, to get the end of Yelena's story.
After Endgame, watch the extended version of Midsommar.
Yes, watch the director's cut, where they kill a child. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's our show. Thanks to everybody that watched the full 2 hours. Thanks to Reckless Aaron. Thanks to Bearded Cat Lord, Jazznet, Lucille, Nudent Destroyer, Official Green Knight. Please hit me up and tell me whether or not you are the official Green Knight channel, because that would be hype. Or if you're just a random person, why? Please explain why.
Just a Batman fan who smokes a lot of weed. That's why it's
that would also be cool in its own way. And of course Miss Knox as well. I'm pretty sure I got everybody. And also thanks one last time to Jazznet for subscribing. Big thanks to all of our subscribers. And one last time, please, Mr. Chanoine, tell us where we can find you on social media. Tell us any creative shit you got coming down the pipe, and plug your albums again.
All of my social medias are my name, Jay Chanoine. So Instagram, Twitter, at Jay Chanoine. And I have an album out on Stand Up Records. I have an album that came out before that independently. They are called Come On Feel Chanoine and the Texas Chanoine Saw Massacre, respectively. You can listen to both of them on all digital music platforms. If you want to buy them and download them, even better. And then actually this week on Thursday, I believe I am on Twins with you and Mikey back here on this channel. So that's the next time you'll be able to see me and promote this channel.
That's right. Well, it's awesome that it worked out that way. Yeah. And then also, heck yeah, guys, great show tonight. I'll catch you Wednesday. Also, Dan Harold, I love you. I also love Dan Harold. Dan Harold, if you're watching, is he streaming right now? I was gonna.
He's not yet. He's about to start. So
he's
starting a little after 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to stall until he goes online, but we are quickly nearing.
He was like 40 minutes late yesterday, so.
Dan,
he's been having some technical.
You're an affiliate now, Dan. You gotta fucking keep your shit. You gotta
up your game.
Don't break what's fixed. Whatever. Like, it's not broken. He became an affiliate by being 40 minutes late to shit. Why would I change?
He was always on time before that. But yeah, okay, Jared, promote your shit, please.
Yeah, find me on as Swing Dingling on Twitter and Letterboxd if you want a preview of my Black Widow thoughts. I wrote a very long thing. But not as long as my Fast and Furious or my Fast 9 thing. And yeah, find me here every Wednesday at 6. So yeah.
Fuck yeah. And Mikey, promote your shit, please.
Yeah, so on social media, I am Mikey Jesus with a G, not a J, everywhere, including Instagram. As of tomorrow, I'm officially switching it over, so you don't have to remember 2 things and a long Instagram name. So
you should do it now while you're talking about it.
Yeah, well, no, it's already there, so you can already find it. So go to Mikey Jesus on Instagram if you want to follow me there. I just have to delete all my old photos off there. That'll be a tomorrow problem. However, also, every week on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do Twins with Justin P. Drew, JPD Shushy himself. He and I do that show, which is a review of weekly nerd news, mostly comic book, movie, video game news, the most important things in the world. So
yeah,
that's mostly what I'm up to.
Fuck yeah. And then we got to come up with a new theme song because that
we got copyright claimed, baby.
Yeah, we got DMCA'd on Facebook and YouTube.
Took long enough.
Nice. Yeah, they weren't doing it. And then I didn't do it for 1 week. Right? And I did the Pokemon Rickroll video previous week. And for Bidoof Day, they did a Bidoof roll, and then for some reason, taking a week off, going back to it the following week, YouTube
Bad luck,
and Facebook
baby.
were like, actually now, fucking, we're gonna give you shit. So my brother's currently working on a Twins theme song.
Yeah, we're gonna put together a new reel for the beginning, so it'll be fantastic and brand new and great. And
yeah, I'm excited.
Talented songwriter, so I'm excited. It's gonna be great.
Sure.
Yeah. It's an upgrade.
Oh no!
Oh no! James Charles.
Oh no! Anyway, okay. And then finally me. Hey, yeah, I think we've already promoted it a bunch, but Black Widow review, 6 p.m. Eastern Time this Wednesday. Jer, Mikey. We also have Jill filmmaker, local indie filmmaker. If you're local to Boston, that is. Jill Poisson will be our guest for the episode. And of course, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, me and Mikey do This Week in Nerd Stuff with special guest Jay Chanoine. So if you tolerated him here, then you have another 2 hours to tolerate him on that show. And then a week from tonight, the finale of the Hiddlesimps, where we will find out if we were right, and we will find out if Miss Minutes was the villain all along, and we'll find out whether or not Jay Chanoine is an Image/Dark Horse guy. But yeah, in the meantime, though, Dan Harold, I'm sorry that I shit talked you, and then what I usually do is throw it over to you at the end of these shows, but you weren't online in time, so you can go fuck yourself. I'm throwing it over to 2MB Studios. Eat a dick. Tenet sucked. And finally, thanks to everybody. Thanks to all our commenters. And I love you all. And go fuck yourselves. You rule. You're the best. And subscribe.